still got a long way to go. We still got a lot of work to do. There are a lot of people out there still hurting. I know there are a lot of families still hanging on by a thread. That's what keeps me up at night. That's what keeps me fighting. That's why all of you are here, because you know we've got more work to do. But understand, we've got a different idea about what the future holds. It's an idea rooted in our belief about how this country was built. We know that the government doesn't have the answers to all our problems. We believe government should be lean and efficient. But in the words of the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, who, by the way, couldn't get a nomination in today's Republican Party, we also believe that government should do for the people what they cannot do better for themselves. We believe in an America that rewards hard work and responsibility and individual initiative, but that also puts a hand up to help people live out their dreams. We believe in an America that invests in its people, in its future, the education of our children, the skills of our workers. We believe in a country where we look after one another, where I am my brother's keeper, where I am my sister's keeper. That's the America that I know, and that is the choice in this election. This election is a choice, and if we give them the keys, which will happen if you don't vote, they'll keep giving tax breaks to companies that ship our jobs overseas. We want to give tax breaks to companies that create jobs right here in the United States, to small businesses and American manufacturers and clean energy companies. Because I don't want wind panels and wind turbines and solar panels and electric cars made in Europe or Asia. I want them built right here in the United States by American workers here in the United States of America. That's the choice in this election. If we give them the keys back, and we will if you don't vote, the other side has said they're going to cut taxes for millionaires and billionaires, costing us $700 billion, and to help pay for it, they're going to cut education spending by 20%. Now think about this. This is at a time when the question of whether a country competes almost entirely depends on how well we educate our children. Do you think that China wants to cut education by 20%? Is South Korea cutting education by 20%? Those countries aren't playing for second place. America doesn't play for second place. We play for first place. We play for first. And that's why, instead of giving unwarranted subsidies to the banks, we've taken tens of billions of dollars and we're not putting them where they should go, to students like you, to make sure that you can afford a college education and a $10,000 tuition tax credit for every young person in America so you can get the education you deserve. That's the choice in this election. We want tax cuts to middle-class families. We don't want special interests back in the shotgun. You know, the other side's already promised to roll back Wall Street reform, roll back health insurance reform. We refuse to make that happen. We want to make sure that insurance companies can't deny you coverage when you get sick. We want to make sure that the law we pass to make sure that you can stay on your parents' health insurance till you're 26 years old, that remains the law of the land. We want to make sure that credit card companies can't hit you with hidden fees or jack up your rates without notice. We want to make sure that taxpayers aren't stuck with a Wall Street bailout because somebody else took unwarranted risks. We're going to fight the effort to privatize Social Security, because as long as I'm president, nobody's going to take a generation's worth of retirement savings and hand them over to Wall Street, not on my watch. We are going to make sure we continue to invest in clean energy, and we enforce our clean air and clean water laws. You've seen what they're trying to do here in California, trying to roll back laws that will keep California at the cutting edge. And now that we've got special interests spending millions of dollars out there to gut these clean air standards and clean energy standards. And they're doing the same thing all across the country. Millions of dollars in special interest money using phony front groups. You don't know their names. You know, they call themselves Americans for Prosperity or Mothers for Motherhood. I made that last one up, but it might as well be. And you don't know who's behind it. You don't know, is it an insurance company? Is it a bank? Who's financing all these negative ads against Jerry Brown? Who's financing all these negative ads against Barbara Boxer? And you know how they're able to do this without disclosing their donors is because of a Supreme Court ruling called Citizens United, which shows you how important it is who's making appointments on the Supreme Court. I'm proud I appointed Sonia Sotomayor. I appointed Elena Kagan. All this money pouring into these elections by these phony front groups, this isn't just a threat to Democrats, it's a threat to our democracy. And the only way to fight it is all of you, all these voices matching those millions of dollars. All of you being committed to finish what we started in 2008. That's why it's so important all of you get out. All of you've got to vote, because if everybody who fought for change in 2008 turns out this time, we will win this election. And so I want to remind you why you got involved. You didn't just get involved to elect a president. You got involved because you believed we were at a defining moment. You believed that this was a time when the decisions we make, the challenges we face, are going to shape the lives of our children and our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren for decades to come. That's why you knocked on doors. That's why you made phone calls. That's why some of you cast your vote for the very first time. And look, I understand the last 2 years haven't been easy. I know that a lot of you, you know, you're thinking back to election night or inauguration day and, you know, how much fun that was. And Beyonce was singing and Bono and, you know, Jamie was there. It felt like a big party, but I want everybody to understand, I told you this was going to be hard. I told you power concedes nothing without a fight. You know, inch by inch, day by day, week by week, we've been grinding it out because that's the nature of change in a big, complex democracy. And I recognize some of you may feel now that, gosh, you know, it seems so distant from, you know, those wonderful memories. And change is harder than I expected. We haven't gotten everything done that we hoped for yet. And maybe you know somebody in your family who's out of a job, or maybe somebody in your neighborhood, you know, is put up a foreclosure sign, and you think, boy, you know, we're not moving as quick as we want. I understand that, but don't let anybody tell you that our fight hasn't been worth it. Don't let them tell you that we're not making a difference. Because of you, there are people right here in California who don't have to choose between getting treatment for their cancer or going bankrupt. Because of you, there are parents who are able to look their children in the eye and say, yes, you will go to college. We can afford it. We're getting some help. Because of you, there are small businesses who are able to keep their doors open, even in the midst of recession. Because of you, we have brought home nearly 100,000 brave men and women from Iraq. Because of you, we are going to continue to fight to end Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Because of you, we are going to make sure that we've got an energy policy for the future of America. Because of you. So don't let them tell you that change isn't possible. Because here's what I know. Change is always hard. And if our parents, if our grandparents, if our great-grandparents, if they had listened to the cynics 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, we wouldn't be here today. Think about it. This country was founded on 13 colonies coming together to do what had never been done before, declaring a revolution, throwing off the yoke of tyranny, battling the biggest, baddest empire on earth. And then they decided, you know, we're going to try to form a new type of government. And they wrote on paper, they said, in their declaration, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that we were all endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The cynics didn't believe it. And then, when we had to perfect that union and fight a civil war, the cynics didn't believe it. They didn't think we could free the slaves. If our ancestors had given up, if they had given up to the cynics, we couldn't have gotten through war. We couldn't have gotten through depression. We would not have been able to battle and finally achieve civil rights and women's rights and workers' rights. That is the spirit we have to summon today. The journey we began together was not just about putting a president in the White House. It was about building a movement for change. It was about realizing the promise of the United States of America and understanding that if we're willing to work for it, there is nothing we cannot achieve. So I need you to keep on believing. I need you to keep hoping. And if you knock on some doors and make some phone calls and keep marching and keep organizing, we won't just win this election. We are going to restore the American dream for not just some, but for everybody in this great land. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.